My name is Seth Oldham. I am the instructional coach here at Lincoln College Prep, and I am part of the KC Plus residency program as well. I'm excited that you're with us. We've got a few Lincoln folks on staff here in the meeting with us, and we've got some of our friends from HDF who will be leading the presentation this evening. So we're really glad you're here. I'm going to kick it over to Ms. Alex Perez, who's going to get us started.
Thank you, Seth. Good evening, everyone. My name is Alejandra. I go by Alex, and I'm with the Hispanic Development Fund. I am the coordinator of our HDF programs. I am your lead person for Lincoln Prep. So my colleague, John Carney, is also with us tonight, and I'll introduce him in a bit. But we have 4 high schools that we are working with this year, and Lincoln is one of them. So I am the main person, like I said, for Lincoln, and John is always happy to connect with you as well. We work very closely with Ms. Jean and Mr. Seth. So I look forward to meeting you. Fortunately, we can't do this in person, but I do hope that we get to all be again together in person soon. So Seth, are we going to go ahead and get started with the presentation, or do you want us to wait a minute for others to join?
No, I think we can go ahead and get started. I'll keep an eye on the waiting room and make sure to admit people as they come in.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and get share my screen here. All right, and everyone can see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so like I said, my name is Alex, and with me tonight I have our Director of Educational Programs, Mr. John Carney. So I will let him introduce himself in a bit. I want to give you a brief overview about who we are at HDF. I know some of you already are familiar with our programming because we were at Lincoln last year. In fact, we are really proud that 21 students from Lincoln became HDF scholars this year. So congratulations to all the families and to the Lincoln staff for helping to make that possible. So the HDF Scholarship Program is our flagship program. HDF started in 1986, and from then on out, we have awarded over $7 million in scholarship dollars since 1984, rather, and we have over 4,000 alumni from the greater Kansas City community area. So this year's class, we have 325 scholars. Again, these are all scholars from the greater Kansas City community area, 21 from Lincoln Prep, and we have awarded the largest amount in history, which is close to $700,000, as you can see on here. We won't spend a whole lot of time talking about this, but we do have all these resources that we can share out to you if you're interested in getting more info. After our presentation, just reach out to John or I, and we'll be happy to share with you. The initiative that we're going to be chatting with you about tonight is our HDF Family College Prep program. So as I mentioned a little bit ago, we have partnered up with 4 high schools this year. Lincoln and Bishop Board were with us last year, and this year we have added Guadalupe Centers High School and East High School. So we're really happy to have everyone. And although we are the Hispanic Development Fund, I want to be very clear in that our goal is to ensure that every senior has a post-secondary plan and our support to achieve their goals. So we don't just work with Latino students. Of course, these 4 schools, we were intentional, about choosing schools where there is a large community of Latino students to offer our support. But John and I work very closely with all of the students at each of these schools, regardless of ethnicity, to make sure that we can help them with their post-secondary goals. So the scholarship initiative, in order to be able to participate, we do need your consent. So we have a survey that we've shared out a couple of times. We shared it out initially before classes started. And then after classes started, Mr. Oldham and Miss Allen and I have reshared it. If you are still interested in joining the program, and it's not too late, you can click on completing that survey. We will share that out after the presentation so that you can join our program if you're interested. So if you're wondering what the program is, this is a program where once you take the survey, you're giving HDF permission to release your students' transcript and their data that includes like their ACT, their GPA, all of the different information that HDF will be then able to share with these 12 college partners that we have off to the right. So by you opting into the program, we then send in this information to them, and they are able to pre-admit and pre-award scholarships and admission status for your students. So for instance, today I met with 5 students today, and I was able to tell them, because they're already in the program, and I said, if you were to apply to Rockhurst today, based on the information that we've shared with them, this is how much you would be able to get for a scholarship. This is, whether you would be able to be admitted or not. So, our college partners are able to recruit, pre-admit, and pre-award scholarships. So it's really a great initiative. We hope that you and your families will consider it. It's absolutely free of charge. John, myself, Ms. Allen, Mr. Oldham, and Ms. Santiago are going to be working with your families if this is a program that you're interested in. What else do we do during this program? Like I said, today I met with 5 students today. We worked on meeting different opportunities that each of our students should be working on during their senior year. So we do support like these presentations. We have financial aid nights where we're able to help with filling out the FAFSA. We have the one-on-one advising meetings that we're conducting via Zoom right now. While I'm doing that, we help students look at different colleges, talk about different scholarships, talk about ACT, as many resources we can offer to help them, get prepared for their post-secondary goals. Now, they may not be interested in college, which is completely fine. If they want to go straight, I have students who want to go straight into the workforce or the military. We are able to work with them as well. So you don't have to want to go to, a 4-year school for us to work with you. We are hoping, like I said, to be able to do college visits later on. For now, a lot of our schools are offering virtual tours, but we're hoping that in the spring, we can go with our families and visit some of these college campuses. So hopefully that's something we can do. Our intern, Maria, is not with us tonight. She's in class, but Maria is bilingual in English and Spanish, and she will be around. You might be seeing her at some of our FAFSA workshops and doing presentations. So she's always happy to speak with you and your student. So this is our website, and like I said, we have some free resources on there. Hopefully you will check it out and reach out to us if you need assistance. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let my colleague John take over.
Great. Thank you, Alex. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Carney, as Alex mentioned, and I have the honor and privilege of serving HDF and in Lincoln Prep and the 3 other schools that Alex mentioned earlier. I am super excited to be with you tonight. This truly is my passion and Alex's passion as well. And we feel very fortunate that we get to work with amazing educators at Lincoln, like Mr. Oldham and Miss Allen, Miss Foster, Miss Santiago, just an incredible staff. And have so many wonderful educators and supports over at Lincoln. So pleased to be with you tonight to talk about financial aid and how to pay for college. Because we know that, assuming everybody on this call probably wants their son or daughter to go to college, but the #1 question is probably, how are we going to pay for it? So tonight's presentation will answer that question. Can everyone see my screen okay? Terrific. So we're going to skip this activity, unfortunately, just due to time tonight, but we're going to circle back in the spring. At the end of this financial aid process, your student is going to receive a financial aid award letter from the different colleges they've been accepted to. And we want to circle back in the spring and actually then go over how to analyze those letters. So we will be returning to a similar activity later this year. But let's talk about the cost of college. So of course, there's tuition and fees, room and board if your student decides to live on campus, transportation, books, meals, it all adds up. And just to give you an example of what it costs to attend one of our partner four-year colleges, I've got some numbers on this slide here. And we're not in person right now, but if we were, usually every year when I show this slide, the look on parents' faces is not very happy. But I have some good news for you. These are just the sticker prices. No student actually pays this amount to attend any of these schools because they are offered financial aid either through the federal government or the college itself. And so we're going to talk about how we can really whittle these large, scary numbers down to much more manageable numbers. And I forgot to mention, if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type it in the chat, and we'll have a Q&A at the end to address those. So how are we going to pay for college? This is the HDF plan. This is what we call our 6 buckets of financial aid. And these are in order in the types of financial aid that we recommend that your student accept when they get that financial aid award letter from a college like William Jewell or from Rockhurst or from UMKC. So first and foremost, we want to accept as many grants as are offered to you. Grants, just think grants, G is good. This is free money from either the federal government, state government, the college itself, based on the family's financial need. And again, this is free money that does not have to be paid back. So anytime that you're offered a grant in this process, we want to say yes, please. Number 2, we want to access as many scholarships as possible. Again, free money, although I would say it's merit-based. It's been earned maybe through the student's high school grades or ACT score or an essay they wrote, athletics, musical talent, so on and so forth. So again, obviously we want to accept as many scholarships as possible. And we'll talk tonight about where to access some scholarships from institutions, from colleges, from private organizations like HDF. Number 3, if offered work study, that can be a good means of financial aid, and we'll talk about why when I get to that slide in just a bit. Number 4, student savings. Number 5, parent savings. And then finally, last but not least, obviously nobody's favorite choice, and that's going to be loans. So we'll talk about loans and why borrowing can be a good thing for college if we have to, and as long as we do so in a manageable amount. So let's talk about, first of all, the best way to access some different types of financial aid, and that's going to come through the FAFSA. That's the free application for federal student aid, which actually becomes available to seniors in high school this Wednesday. So the goal is that we actually complete this free online application by the end of this month, would be the goal that I would charge everyone with on this call, as long as the student is eligible. To be eligible for the FAFSA, the student has to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, even if mom or dad is not. So that's a question we often receive, and we're happy to work with families that maybe have some of those challenges and things like that offline privately. So by completing the FAFSA in the next month, that's going to open you up to federal grants, state grants, work study, and federal loans. The first thing we have to do, though, before we complete the FAFSA is the student is going to have to create what's called an FSA ID. And so there's the link to the FSA ID website. And again, Mr. Oldham will share this presentation out. It's actually on our website. It's downloadable at hdfkc.org. But you click on that link, and it'll take you to where you need to go. And the FSA ID, all it is a username and password that the student and one of the parent or guardians are going to use for the remainder of that student's tenure in college. So it's a username and password that you definitely want to keep safe somewhere. I always recommend creating like a Google document that just exists, perpetually, that will never be erased or thrown away, to store passwords and things like that. So that's going to be step one, is the student go to this website, takes about 15, 20 minutes, and creates their username and password. One of the parent or guardians will also need to create one if they haven't done so yet. If you want to process the FAFSA the fastest way, the quickest way, and that's by signing the electronic version online. So this is something that a student is going to create, and that one of the parent or guardians is also going to create, so that you can both sign the FAFSA at the end and just submit it electronically, which is the fastest, most efficient way to do it. So I would put that on your radar. As soon as tonight, tomorrow, perhaps, you could knock that out, and then you'd be ready to go for Wednesday when the FAFSA opens. If you are interested in getting just an estimate of whether or not you'll be eligible for some of the types of financial aid that we're going to discuss tonight, you can go to the FAFSA forecaster. It takes about 15 minutes, and there's no strings attached or data collected or anything like that. You can just plug in your estimated income and a few other numbers, and you can kind of get a snapshot or a prediction of how you're going to come out on financial aid. So let's go through our 6 buckets in order, and let's talk about those that obviously are ones we want to access and accept if offered. Number 1 is going to be the federal Pell Grant. This is the number 1 reason why students and families should complete the FAFSA, is because if you are eligible for the Pell Grant, and that's going to, again, be based on the family's household income and number of household members, but if you're eligible for it, many students who we work with are eligible to access over $6,000 in aid through the federal Pell Grant. So when we're talking about attending local community colleges like MCC or KCKCC, JCCC, this of in itself would take care of full tuition fees and books for a year. If you attend a 4-year college like William Jewell or UMKC or Avila, it's going to go a long way, about 1/4 of the total cost just for the federal Pell Grant. There's another grant that's offered through the FAFSA, and that's the FSEOG grant. This one is, again, based on financial need, and it comes from the actual college itself, and the award ranges from $100 all the way up to $4,000. So just another reason to complete the FAFSA. So those are a couple of the federal grants that a student might be offered. There are some state grants and institutional grants as well that students, by completing the FAFSA, might be eligible to receive. The next bucket we talked about was scholarships, and I'm gonna push that down the presentation a bit just because we have a lot more to talk about with that. So I'm gonna skip to bucket 3 for now, and that's federal work-study programs. So what is work-study? It's one of the questions on the FAFSA. It's gonna ask your student, would you like to be considered for the federal work-study program? And I always recommend to students to select yes, and they may or may not be eligible based on the family's income, but if they are, it's an opportunity to consider, and here's why. If a student is offered a federal work-study job on campus, they actually will have an on-campus job where they can earn money to then put towards school or really put towards anything. But a couple of reasons why they might want to consider this instead of an off-campus job, say working at Chipotle or Pizza Hut or whatever. With federal work-study, there are 2 good things about it. Number 1, there's a chance that your student could get a job on campus, like at the library or computer lab, where they could literally do their job but also study at the same time and be paid to do so. If a student is working off campus at Chipotle or Pizza Hut, they're probably not going to be able to study or do their homework while working. Number 2, the program caps the number of hours that students can work. So it keeps students at about 20 hours a week, which is really ideal, especially that freshman year of college. I would say in my experience in this line of work, the number one reason why students aren't successful academically their first semester or year in college is typically they're working too much. If a student's taking 12 or 15-hour credit hours, it's a full-time job, and it needs to be really treated that way. And for those students who can afford, not to work that first semester, first year, that's always tremendous. But if the student must work, we try to limit those hours to about 20 hours a week, and the federal work study program ensures that happens. Rather than, again, if I'm working at Chipotle, my manager's really leaning on me to pick up extra shifts or work more hours. So something to consider that's offered through the FAFSA. Let's talk about student loans. This is the one that no one likes to talk about, and rightly so. I'm not a fan of taking out loans if I don't have to. The average American graduate leaves college owing about $30,000 in student loans, and that's, you hear about it all the time in the news. That's something that we don't want to do if we can avoid it. So let's talk about loans that are good loans and maybe loans that we want to avoid so we don't end up with that $30,000 plus dollar amount in debt. So these are three types of loans that by completing the FAFSA, your student might be eligible for, and that's the direct subsidized loan, the direct unsubsidized loan, and the parent plus loan. And they're in order from my favorite to least favorite. So let's talk about my favorite one. The direct subsidized loan. This is a federal need-based loan. So again, not everybody is eligible to receive this. It's going to be based on the family's income and household size. But if your student is offered this type of loan and they need to borrow a little bit of money, I would definitely recommend that they borrow the direct subsidized loan. And here's why. Number one, the word subsidized means that the government is going to actually cover the interest that accrues while the student is in college. So that beginning principal isn't going to grow while the student is in college. So that's a tremendous reason to select this loan. Number two is the very competitive interest rate, 2.75%. Is extremely low right now, and another reason why this is such an attractive loan. For those students who are offered this loan, the maximum is $3,500 their freshman year. And then another pro to this loan, or a good thing about it, is you have a 6-month grace period after the student leaves college, and hopefully that means graduates from college, to begin paying that loan back. So this is our number one recommended first choice federal loan to consider. Number two, it's a very similar loan. The only difference is that the interest will begin accruing that freshman year of college. So this is the direct unsubsidized loan. Again, has a fantastic rate, 2.75%. Your freshman year, if you're offered $3,500 in the direct subsidized loan, then you can only take on an additional $2,000 for a total of $5,500 between the 2-year freshman year. That's kind of the number I'm most comfortable with when I talk to families about borrowing in a given year. It's kind of that combination between the direct subsidized and unsubsidized at $5,500. So it's kind of a good benchmark there. But again, this is one I am comfortable telling students and families to accept that freshman year in addition to the direct subsidized loan. So these two I consider to be very, very strong options. Number three is a parent plus loan. This is a loan that the parent would actually have to apply for and take out on behalf of their student. I'm not a huge fan of it philosophically because I feel like your son or daughter, when they leave high school, they're a young adult, this is their education, kind of their skin in the game. But if you're a parent who feels very strongly, or there's a financial need or gap that without it, they wouldn't be able to attend, their dream school, then perhaps you would consider this option. But again, this is a loan that parents can take out. It is based on credit history, just like a normal loan would be for a car or home. That is the current rate, which isn't terrible, but there is a 4% loan fee to tack on to that. So that is something that parents can consider or might have available to them by completing the FAFSA as well. And then last but not least, there are private student loans. We want to try to avoid these if possible. These come from banks, credit unions, simply because the interest rates are going to be much higher. And so that's really the reason why we want to try to stick to those federal loans, if at all possible. So that's the scary stuff, loans. Let's talk about scholarships. Let's talk about free money that students can earn. And there are a couple different types of scholarships out there. So there are automatic scholarships. Earlier, Alex mentioned the HDF Scholarship Initiative. That's been really exciting to kick off. About half the Lincoln seniors have opted into that so far. And we've had schools like William Jewell and Rockhurst already respond with their pre-admissions decisions and pre-scholarship awards. So Alex and I have had a lot of fun this month sharing those out with students to say, hey, Alex, did you know you've been accepted to William Jewell? And by the way, if you apply today, you're more than likely going to receive a $16,000 annual scholarship from them. So there are automatic scholarships like that available to students just based on their ACT scores, GPA, and class rank. So all the student has to do is apply for admission to the college, and they will get access to those automatic dollars. Number two is there are more scholarships from colleges, but they require a separate application. So we'll talk about a couple different scholarship types that fit that category. And then number three, there are private organizations like HDF and the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation. There are businesses where students can also apply for scholarships. So let's talk a little bit more about those automatic scholarships. First of all, we want to make sure that we access those dollars. There are a number of local and regional colleges where their automatic scholarship deadline is November 1st. So again, we like to recommend to students, seniors right now, that they begin, if they haven't yet, begin applying to colleges so that they can access those automatic scholarship dollars. Because if they wait to apply, let's say in February or March, then those dollars will have already been awarded out and they wouldn't have access to them. We have an HDF College Playbook that was emailed out to every single senior, and it's a fantastic resource that has a number of automatic scholarships listed in it on pages 16 to 21. And again, that's a resource that can be downloaded at our website as well. Institutional scholarships. So again, these come from colleges, but they require a separate application. So here's a couple of examples that we have listed. UCM has a Cesar Chavez scholarship, specifically for Latino students. It's $3,125 a year for all 4 years. And that's one that students have to then seek out and apply to before the deadline. At UMKC, there's a number of scholarships, including the Block Launchpad Scholarship for students interested in the business program there. There's the Block Scholarships at Donnelly College and MCC. And those are separate applications that students must apply to those. And then there are private scholarships. So HDF, if a student identifies as Hispanic Latino, you're eligible for our scholarship. Of course, the junior year was a big one for KC Scholars. We always recommend the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation. We have a sister scholarship there, the Black Community Fund Scholarship. So if a student identifies as Black or African American, that's a $5,000 scholarship, so very substantial. Had a number of Lincoln students receive it last year. So they have, truly, there's over 150 scholarship funds at the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation. So the beautiful thing about that is a senior applies to the general application in December, and then come January 1st, it will filter out and tell the student based on race, ethnicity, GPA, so on and so forth, which scholarships they're eligible to then apply for. And then the student can go about their work and start applying to the Black Community Fund or HDF or so on and so forth. So again, in our playbook, we have featured about 30 private scholarships as well. I always like to tell students and parents to start there because you can really, you can spend all day online seeking out scholarships, but we like to start with the ones that are local and the ones that we know and trust and have seen students receive. So I would start with our list in the HDF College Playbook. There are scholarships there for all students, regardless of race, ethnicity. And then, of course, students can branch out and check out some other websites that I'll share with you in a moment. A+ scholarship is a big one in Missouri. If your student has been working towards the A+ scholarship program with Miss Allen, of course, you would want to get in touch with her. I know right now, due to COVID, The tutoring hours can be difficult to attain, but I'm sure she has some wonderful ideas and ways that students can still complete those hours to earn that A+ scholarship. Here are some additional scholarship apps or websites. Scholly app is one. Students pay, I think it's like $4.95, and then again, they type in their information and it filters out some national scholarships they can apply for. FastWeb has a wide array of national scholarships as well, but again, my recommendation, start with the ones listed in our playbook, and then really try to access these other ones. Just because again, local scholarships are a little bit, you're more likely to receive than some of these national ones. So now we're on to bucket 4. So we started with grants, talked a little bit about scholarships, we talked about work study. Let's talk about student college savings. If your student has not started saving for college, I would recommend they do so. Every little bit helps. I would recommend if they didn't work this past summer, and especially probably difficult to do so with COVID, hopefully this upcoming summer and every summer beyond. I feel like, you know, once you're in college, it's really helpful. You can save $2,000 to $3,000 a summer. And that really goes a long way for books or tuition fees, room and board, what have you. There have been some studies done. This is one from the University of Kansas on just families that just save a little bit, just a little bit of money, intentional college savings. The likelihood of that student, enrolling and then graduating from college increases pretty dramatically, as you can see from just a little bit of college savings. So definitely want to make sure that students are savings as well as parents. Parents, there are some fees that you might incur this spring. So you might be thinking, well, my son or daughter isn't going to get their first bill until July or August. But there are some fees and some deposits that you might have to put down. A room and board deposit is very popular at a lot of four-year colleges if the student is going to live on campus. The University of Missouri, it's $350 in the spring to reserve that dorm. Enrollment fees, again, you'll see some four-year colleges that will require that commitment, that skin in the game, saying, yes, I'm coming to your college through enrollment fees. So these are some things that we should be thinking about and planning for now if we haven't already. 529 college savings plans. These are especially a good idea if you have younger children. I would say if you have a senior in high school, it's probably not worth the trouble of putting your money into a 529 right now. But if you're looking to long-term college savings vehicles, this is something that I would definitely recommend for younger children. So to recap our 6 buckets, again, grants, scholarships, work study, student savings, parent savings, and then finally loans. And so we are going to circle back with you all in a few months once we get these financial aid award letters in. And really that's the most, besides getting into the college, that's probably the next most important thing, is it's where the rubber meets the road, right? Is how are we going to pay for it? So we would like to offer our assistance and support in analyzing those letters and really making the best financial choice. I'll just tell you personally, my personal story, my dream school was to go to Chicago and go to DePaul. And when I got my financial aid award letter, it became apparent to my family and I that may not be the best fit. So ultimately ended up going to KU. It worked out beautifully, saved a ton of money, didn't graduate with near as much as loans. So yeah, it is something that we definitely need to consider when choosing a school. So the next steps would be, I would say, to do the FAFSA forecaster, but we're only 2 days away from the FAFSA opening up. Go ahead and do that FSA ID. And then we will also be here to support Lincoln students and families complete the FAFSA. So we can set up one-on-one meetings virtually to actually walk you through and help complete the FAFSA here in October, and then you knock it out and you don't have to worry about it for another year. I'm going to answer some of the questions I think that popped up in the chat in just a bit, but I would like to turn it over to a few special guests we have with us from a few colleges to talk about some specific scholarship opportunities at their schools. So I'm going to start off with Mr. William Palmer from William Jewell College.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? Well, it's so good to see every one of you. And you seniors, I commend you. You guys are going through a unique year, but stay diligent and keep working hard, and things will definitely work out for you. But here at William Jewell, we've definitely had some major changes and shifts that's, I really believe, can benefit a lot of students. And so this is where you want to do your due diligence and find out where you really truly fit in when it comes down to your scholarship opportunities. But just to give brief information, the way our tuition, it used to be just tuition was $33,500. And then now that's been recast at $18,360. And then when you add your room and board, a little under $10,000, and then additional $950 in fees, and I'll explain a little bit about those fees there, that will bring your total at $29,170. And the difference from the number that I gave you was basically those fees. Those fees are basically your iPad is free for you here at the campus, and then when you graduate, you keep those. But there's also access, laundry, all activities free. All those are all included in that. And I also noticed that, I think Jean said in the chat, that when you have your deposit, to kind of show your commitment level, William Jewell used to be $300, now we've moved it down to $100, and that will be coming off your bill. So for your first bill, so it does kind of help. It's not additional. It will definitely just bring that down. And now the scholarships at William Jewell, we want to be able to reward you guys academically, and we could talk about other avenues as well. But you'll see in the scholarship initiative that I put in with you guys, it just will say merit, but it will be like a Cardinal Scholar. If you have a 3.3 to a 3.49, that is $1,000, and it is annually, so you can get that for each year. We have our Jewell Scholar that is 3.5 to 3.74, which is $2,000. And you guys, this is all on our website. If you go to a forward, and you'll see all of these bullet points, and they are available on our website. Our trustee is 3.75 with a 3.89, that's $3,000. And these are all annually. Then we have our presidential scholar, 3.9 and above, which is $4,000. That's just GPA. But now if you take in what we want to call it our boost, we want to call it kind of like the elevator, meaning is now if you have the GPA and you have plus now a 24 ACT, you'll get additional 500, maybe plus that GPA. So for example, if you had a 3.3, you'll get that 1,000. But then if you scored a 24, you get the 500, which would be $1,500 now. And we'll do that in elevators from 24 ACT, 26, which is 1,000, 28 is 1,250, and 30 plus 30 or 30 above is 1,500. And this is just academic awards. Now, just like John says, we have different ways that we can also reward for scholarships. That could be through the sports, that could be through band, could be through theater, could be through vocals. There's many different ways that we can look at additional scholarships. That could be opportunities for you, as well as work studies opportunities. But then we do have shaping the future scholarship, which could be up to $2,000, and that is a separate application there. But we also have Jewell Access Grants, and that's going to be based off needs based. But if we're talking to students that could be DACA students, then we'll definitely want you to complete the CSS profile. And what that is just kind of like, it's kind of like the FAFSA, and it still allows us to see what we can reward you, some additional funds there for kind of like a needs base, because we want to be able to bring your tuition down. We want to be able to have you have the success in school. Financial aid is important, as long as the scholarships are all important and play a strong pivotal point for you to be able to reach your educational goals, and we want to help you achieve those. For me, on that end, I mean, we could definitely talk about the initial scholarships additional that could be for sports, introduce you to coaches, or our music department to see what things could be available and just kind of help you, because we do have a program that we started. It's called like the master class. So if we have programs where our music department is willing to work and do some coaching, and we're willing to do this virtually. So let me know what we can do just to kind of assist some other opportunities for some of your students going forward. We know there's talented students at all the school that you're in with Lincoln Prep. You know, we want to make sure that we can touch all of you guys just to help you look at all your opportunities and options. Because at the end of the day, I want you to find the best school that's for you. And we're going to be a cheerleader, and we're going to support you no matter what you do, just as long as you're going towards your goals. But unless there's any other questions for me.
Great. Well, William, we do have one question, but I think I'll wait to the Q&A after our next two presentations.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Next, I want to introduce to you Irit Velasquez. She is an admissions rep from Avila University here in Kansas City.
Hello. Am I able to share my screen already? Are you guys able to see my screen? Okay. So my name is Irit. I am the admissions representative here at Avila University. And for those who are not that familiar with us, we are a 4-year private university here in Missouri. I will go ahead and go over a little bit about our tuition and cost. These prices have changed a little bit, but they are still pretty similar to what you see on screen. So our tuition right now is going to be around the $21,800. And that's going to be for the year. And what that includes is not only your classes, but that also includes your books. So those are expenses that you don't have to worry about outside of your tuition. That also includes your student ID and your parking pass. So those are already 4 things included into that. However, if students are interested in living on campus and getting a meal plan, that is going to add to the additional cost that you see on here. But like Mr. Carney said and mentioned at the beginning of the call, these are just sticker prices. A lot of students end up paying a lot less after their FAFSA, private scholarships, and financial assistance. Some of the scholarships that we do offer, you can see on this scholarship chart. So the first one we offer is the Avila Achievement Scholarships. And those have actually changed quite a bit this year. So they are now ranging from $7,000 to $12,000, which is our presidential scholarship. And those are going to be based on your students' GPA and ACT scores. Whenever students apply here, they are automatically awarded a scholarship, and we let them know what range they fall into. We also have the CSJ scholarship, the Avila Mission Grant, and we also recognize the A+ program. And then we also have different scholarships available to students, whether that be engagement scholarships if they want to take part of a student government, if they want to take part of campus ministry, or if they want to, with our athletic scholarships, if they want to play a sport as well. Another thing that we just added this year, it's a brand new honors program. And that grants the students an extra $1,000 grant per year, and that is stackable with other scholarships. For this program, it is a very competitive program, and it requires 25 ACT and a 3.75 GPA. And what that does, it allows students to participate in a lot more enhancements that are tailored to their experiences and what they are interested in regarding their major. The only thing for this, they can either be approved conditionally, which is either a 25 ACT or a 3.75, or they can be pre-approved if they meet both requirements. All they have to do for this would be just email the honors coordinators, let them know that they are interested. And if they are a conditional, they would just work on an essay and be approved that way. And then after that, they would just make that tuition deposit that Mr. Carney was talking about. And we have recently decreased that from our $200 to $100 to help our students with financial needs. If you have any questions regarding any scholarship specifically, I will be here till the end of the call as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Irit. Last but not least, want to introduce you to Brittany Bummer from the UMKC Block School of Management, and specifically the Block Launchpad Scholarship. Brittany, please take it away.
Thanks so much, John. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. So I'm going to talk about scholarships in terms of the 3 buckets, and then I'll talk a little bit about a specific academic unit scholarship that we have, because I work within the Henry W. Block School of Management, and then we'll give you guys some contact information in case you want to learn any more. I fees are about $400 per credit hour at UMKC. We don't have a flat rate. Most students take about 12 to 15 credit hours a semester. And then I am not exactly sure how much room and board is, but I just texted a colleague about it, so hopefully we'll have that pretty soon. I'm going to start out with automatic scholarships. So these are awards that UMKC gives out just when you apply to the university. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to complete any other applications or essays. There are kind of 3 big scholarships within those automatic awards, and they range between $2,000 and $5,000. And then the minimum ACT score is 22, and the minimum GPA or high school core GPA is a 3.0. I want to mention too, there is one other automatic award that is applicable to Lincoln Prep, and that is the Metro Kansas City High School Award, and that's $1,000, and it does not meet the same GPA CT requirements. So if you fall below the other 3 awards, you're still eligible for the Metro KC High School Award. Students that apply by the January 15th priority deadline will automatically receive one of those awards. And then students who apply after January 15th will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. And then students in the medical, pharmacy, dental, or law schools are not eligible for automatic awards. UMKC has a large number of competitive scholarships available. And to apply for those, once you've applied to UMKC, you would fill out the UMKC General Scholarship application, and that is on the financial aid website for UMKC. And then there are several that are based off of academics and diversity, involvement outside of the classroom. One that I want to mention is the UMKC Hispanic Matching Scholarship, and that is in partnership with our friends at HDF. That is up to $1,000 match with HDF, or 100% match with HDF if you're not receiving any other aid. And then lastly, we have a lot of academic unit scholarships. Every single academic unit at the university has scholarships, and those vary in terms of requirements and amounts. One that I want to highlight, again, I work for the Henry W. Block School of Management. More specifically, I work for Block Launchpad, and this is a scholarship program for business and accounting students who are looking to go above and beyond getting involved just inside the classroom. So we have a renewable scholarship for throughout your time at the Block School, and that's up to $10,000 with an automatic award. Our scholarships match up with those automatic award requirements, and we have 6 awards total, 3 on the first-time college side, and then 3 on the transfer student side. So if you choose to start out at a community college, you can still transfer into the Block School and be eligible for Launchpad. Although I will mention that the awards are higher on the first-time college student side. So if you're interested at all in business and you think Launchpad would be great for you, please start looking into that now. Within Launchpad, you have access to exclusive professional and leadership development opportunities, including site visits around Kansas City and beyond. We're working with a lot of businesses that are both here in Kansas City, but then also have offices across the country, and they're excited to get you guys out there. We have panel discussions with Kansas City leaders. We have leadership opportunities within Launchpad, so you could be a cohort leader and get yourself out there pretty quickly. And then we also have a whole array of social events so that you can get together with your classmates and just have fun. You have support exclusively from me. I just work for the Launchpad program, but then you also get very early access to a career coach at the Block Career Center, and you'll receive, you're required to have academic advising appointments once a year, and that just ensures that you have the resources you need to excel. And then lastly, and probably most importantly, you have a built-in network and a built-in community of students that are just like you, who are excited to get involved, who will push you and support you. And then you also get started on building your professional network the day you start at UMKC. And so we put you in touch with leaders across and they'll help to get you on that right track for businesses, or for your career, apologies. So after admittance to UMKC, be sure to fill out the general scholarship app to be considered for scholarships you may be eligible for. I will mention with Block Launchpad, that is a separate application, but it's really easy to complete, and you'll get it once you apply for UMKC if you are eligible for it. I would highly, highly, highly encourage checking out the financial aid website at finaid.umkc.edu for the whole list of scholarships we offer, or connect with us via email at admissions@umkc.edu to learn more. Thanks, guys.
Great, thank you so much, Brittany. At this time, we're going to open it up to a Q&A, and it could be questions for myself, Alejandra, Miss Allen, any of our college reps. I think I'll probably start with the chat, and then please, parents, students, feel free to unmute it and jump in with a question. I'm going to go back to the first question on the chat. That was from Jean. How long does it typically take to receive an FSA ID once submitted? It usually takes between 1 and 3 days. So it's a good idea, again, tonight, if you have time, for your student and perhaps yourself as a parent to go ahead and register and apply for an FSA ID, and then you'll be good to go on Wednesday, Thursday this week to knock out the FAFSA. Jean had a comment about enrollment fees, and that's a great tip. Parents, I want you to be aware of this, and I would just say this generally speaking, talk to financial aid offices. Pick up the phone and call them. Oftentimes they will work with you, sometimes even negotiate on tuition fees and that remaining gap. But Jean mentions enrollment fees and how they can be rolled into the student's first bill, and she's correct. That's a great tip, but sometimes you have to ask for that up front to the financial aid office. But a great point there. William, got a question for you from Ms. Allen specifically. Are the scholarships that you talked about available if a student is admitted late, such as next year, as in February or later?
And it is a good question. What we're doing is basically we have a bucket of the money, and when the money is out, it's out. So we want to try to get people that's having interest. And so we just encourage them to apply, get admitted, because even if you decide that you chose to go elsewhere, at least you knew what your options were. That's the kind of best case scenario. So yes, the objective goal is to have money available for everyone at any given time, but that money could run out if people are being proactive and applying and getting admitted sooner.
Yeah, I think just to piggyback on that, again, apply to colleges now and try to get those applications done before November 1, and then you don't have to worry about running out of those scholarships. And then there's
also a different, Jean had another great question about students who may have a percentage of Native American, and for us, we're grouping that as anyone of color that could have that additional resources with our access grant. So that's something that we put in.
Another private scholarship that's open to Native American students as well as Black students, Asian American students, Latino students is the Gates Scholarship. It's a very competitive national scholarship, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But a lot of Lincoln Prep students, I think, would be a great candidate for that scholarship. And that just came due here September 15th. But that's another example. That's a really good question, Gene. I think, I don't know of any specific Native American scholarships at the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation, but I know there are plenty out there. I just don't know of any local ones specifically for Native American. That's something we can further dig into. Gene, you asked a question, are students assigned a financial advisor at various institutions? And I would say yes, and some are maybe better at that than others. And then some have really good supports and tracking, once that student is on campus. But again, my advice to any student parent is to really get to know William, get to know Brittany, get to know Arit, because they're your best advocate. And if they know your story and know you and like, oh man, this Gene is a can't miss student at Lincoln Prep. He's always emailing me and being proactive, and they can go to bat and fight for some dollars and some scholarships at times. So I would just, in life in general, but school specifically in this process, advocate for yourself and get to know these folks, and they can help out quite a bit. I want to open up to any questions to any students, parents, anything we haven't addressed. Feel free. Now would be the time to ask.
Mr. Kearney.
Hi, Jean.
Hi. I just have another tip that I would like to share with the students and parents. And I know this process can be rather intimidating. And even for somebody like myself who has been doing this for a number of years, sometimes it still causes me to pause as to what the real answer is. But I want to encourage students in particular, get to know your admission rep, get to know your financial aid rep, and have these conversations with them. I have attended a lot of college meetings, and what I'm told is these representatives want to talk to the students. And parents, no offense to you in the least bit, but they want to see that these seniors have the initiative to have these conversations without mom calling and mom is asking for these things. So encourage your senior to call, to email, and to have those conversations, because they are, by this point, adults. And it's really important that they learn how to do this independently without you calling for them. I know at the high school level, sometimes we have a tendency to maybe baby our students too much, and we talk to you and then you talk to the student. But once they get to the college level, they really need to have these conversations themselves. And college reps, you can respond to that or comment on that if you like.
I would definitely echo that. That is extremely important, because we want to know the students, have a plan of what they want to do. We don't want to feel like we're just pushing them in a direction. We want to be secure that we're helping them the right way. And I know, like what we try to do here at William Jewell, we definitely like to have campus visits with the families and the students, so that way we can make sure everybody's on the same page and we have clarity and understanding, because we want to be transparent and we want to be able to have, we're thinking about the goal in mind, but we want to know the real story so we can be the best advocate for the family.
I completely agree, William. I think that's super important. We really try to get that student involved, especially with other students within the program. But if they're having issues and they don't come to me, I don't know how to help them. And so it's definitely important to get engaged with us very quickly.
Rogelio asked a great question. He asked if I want to get help filling out the FAFSA, who do I reach out to? Please reach out to Miss Allen, Rogelio, or Alex Perez directly at perez@hdfkc.org. And again, we're either one of us or one of the wonderful counselors, Miss Vandergriff, or one of the other counselors that Miss Allen works with are here to help you. So we can schedule virtually or one-on-one, and literally walk through it with you, because it is a little bit intimidating. So absolutely can help with that. I do want to share out one last thing that I mentioned throughout the presentation, our HDF College Playbook. Can you all see that? Okay, so this is super helpful, and I'm not trying to like self-advertise here, but this is really has everything you need in English and Spanish. And right now, students, parents, like, what should I be doing as a senior? Like, I want to go to college. I think I'm going to get into colleges, but like, what do I need to be doing right now? This breaks it down for you. This is our HDF College Milestone Tracker. So really right now, we're hoping that you're either going to take that ACT again in October, or maybe register for that December test. That's a to-do item. We hope that you opted into our scholarship initiative, first and foremost. You should be applying to colleges right now. And this is super important. And this is something that I saw at all the high schools we served last year, but at Lincoln included, is we want to make sure that we are applying to a reach college, a target college, and a safety college. And so what do I mean by that? I told you earlier I wanted to go to DePaul University in Chicago. Because that is a private school out of state, it's going to tend to be a little bit more on the expensive side. I consider that to be a reach college. I got into it, but it was a matter of affordability. Then you want to target some target schools. Maybe what are some four-year schools that are local or regional that you're strongly considering attending? Maybe it's Avila, maybe it's Jewel, maybe it's UMKC. And then last but not least, we always want to make sure that we have a safety college on our list. It's the #1 mistake I see seniors make, is they don't have a backup plan. So what happens if we don't get into all the schools that we apply to, or we find that the financial aid awards aren't in our favor? We got to have some schools on that list that will still give us a great opportunity to pursue post-secondary education, but do so in an affordable manner as well. So that's my recommendation there. So by November 1st, hopefully you've applied to your list. I think 5 to 7 schools is a good number. And then of course, some of these other milestones, check in virtual campus tours. I know many of our college partners included on this call will do in-person campus visits, and in one-on-one settings or very small settings, so you can schedule those as well. And just continue to work down this list. And again, Miss Allen, Alex, myself will be here to help you with that. We've got, here are all the FAFSA links that you need. Again, this is all live clickable. We've got scholarships, all live links. They'll take you directly to the applications. Tells you the deadline, the eligibility requirements, how much the award is. So again, start here with your scholarship search. This is where we feature our college partners to learn more about Avila, or go directly to the scholarship page. Emporia State, all of our wonderful partners. So please check out and take advantage of this resource. Here's questions to ask college reps. So definitely wanted to plug this before getting off the call today. That every student was emailed that and has access to that document. And again, it's on our website as well. Any last questions? I want to be mindful of everybody's time. We've been about an hour exactly since we started. Any final questions? Okay, well, Alex has shared her direct cell phone and email address. Of course, you have Miss Allen's and the counselors and Mr. Oldham's as well. But we really just want to thank all of you for taking time out of your evening, students, parents, tonight. Truly, that means a lot to us, and it shows how committed you are to achieving your goals and dreams. So thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. Oldham, Miss Allen, our college reps. Thank you, William, Brittany, Arit, for being here tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.